Welcome to Going Beyond, and thank you so much for joining us today. My guest is an old friend, M.Keshav. Keshav is a former journalist. He's been working with a lot of the mainline media. And of course, then he changed tracks and he began an organization called Mantra. Mantra deals with training people, what they call soft skills these days. But let me ask Keshav to outline for me what he does and to explain to me more in more graphic detail what he's up to these days. Keshav, thank you for joining us. Now, let's start by your journalist career because I think that's what we have in common.
Firstly, thank you for having me over, Jennifer. It's always a pleasure to talk to the camera, knowing that so many people around the world are watching you at some point in time. Nowadays, you have to be so careful as well when you speak because it's all recorded. And
Sure.
back in our
Yeah.
days, it was easy.
Yes,
You
yes.
wrote what you liked, they published what they like. But
Right.
that was also one of the reasons why I did not really enjoy journalism because I wrote almost 40 odd developmental articles which never got published. Because you talked about water, you talked about women, you talk about sanitation, but they wanted you to meet the chief minister, the prime minister, So it
Mm.
was all driven
Need
by industry and
by
business.
the
Let's not,
need,
yeah,
yes.
it's first a business.
Right. You
So
did, of course, meet Indira Gandhi along the way. Now,
yes,
I wanted to draw you out on that.
sure. So I was a greenhorn literally when I started,
Mm.
and my first big assignment was going on a campaign, 1980, Mrs. Gandhi trying to come back to power,
Yeah.
right? And so she was tied up with the DMK, and we were, invited. Part of the press to go all the way with her from Chennai. We drove all the way down to Kanyakumari, and then we came back. So on the way, we would cover, but I was not because I was with a Chennai-based magazine called Aside. You probably have,
I remember
of
that.
course,
It
you
was
know
a
about
nice magazine,
Aside. It
actually.
was the
Yes.
first magazine in English in Chennai. So we didn't really have to cover, regular stuff on the campaign. So we were waiting for this golden opportunity to meet her, and we had asked for an interview. Late one night at Virdanagar near Shankar Simmons in their guest house, she gives us a call and says, I'll meet these four people. One of them was a lady from France, and the two other local journalists with me. So we were four in a room, and amazing clarity at almost near midnight, and just felt the quiet power in her. And
Mm.
which I felt later in 1984, maybe at the end or early 85, I met Madam Jayalalitha, as she's called. She was not even in power then. She was just recovering from the loss of her mentor, and then she wanted to get back into public life. She came to us at Aside, and we wrote an article on her. So I was on that job. Later, I met our prime minister now. So I've noticed all these leaders have that great gravitas in their personality. They listen so keenly, they speak so carefully. It's amazing how that the instinct that you and I have becomes an intuition
Yes,
when they get
indeed.
into larger roles.
Yes, that's
Something guides them rather than they guiding people. And we think they're guiding us. Actually, it's something inside them,
it's the
I
other
think.
way around. It's
They are
totally the other way
guided,
around.
and therefore they
Absolutely.
become good guides for other
That's right.
people. So,
So then after that, you decided then after you first you were with All India Radio, you did
yes.
Doordarshan.
Oh,
Our careers seem to follow similar paths actually
yes,
in a
you were
way.
you were so much into
Anyway,
news all the
yes,
time.
that's
I
right.
was off track on news and more into features and so
Right.
I quizzing. Quizzing actually gave me a big lead in Doordarshan. In fact, 1983 All India Radio. I remember the World Cup was over and Krishnamachari Srikanth,
Yes.
who plays from Tamil Nadu and India, opened the batting for India in the World Cup '83. So we got to interview him in All India Radio. And you are faceless people because on air,
That's
you could
right.
be talking, but nobody knows. And he was so confident,
He's a
cocky
wonderful speaker,
perhaps. Yeah,
isn't
he's
he? He's
always
a
been
great
that way.
speaker.
Little
Yes.
cocky as well because he was not being seen,
Yeah.
right? But these days, I think they're very filtered. Everyone is very filtered when they speak because they know that media is watching. In those days, everyone, and yet being All India Radio, Doordarshan, they had to have many filters. They had to make sure that
Indeed.
no commercial names were mentioned, stuff like
Yes.
that. But so it was good. I enjoyed television as well because I did, Raj TV. You knew that
Right.
I did something called Wonder Quiz, inter-school quizzing in Tamil Nadu. Then I did an inter-collegiate quizzing in Kerala, 2005 for Amrita. And somehow quizzing gave me that presence. So I would have done about 300, 400 shows on television.
Right. But you switched then, you switched tracks really and started
Yes,
something called
absolutely,
mantra.
absolutely.
Now, I'm really interested to know exactly what you're teaching there because I found some words in your biodata that really fascinated me, Keshav. Please tell
I
me.
wish I knew what I was doing, but I must be doing something right because we're more than 3 decades into the business, and a lot of young people work with me, so I get very excited. Actually, like they say, the trick is to stay young as late as you can,
Mm.
right? So I think this business gives me that the need to stay relevant, the need to stay with young people as they change. So it's been a great journey. So I started Mantra. Thank you for mentioning it in my introduction. So I run a company called Mantra, and Mantra is typically an Indian word. Actually, why I called it Mantra was Management Training Research Associate. So it's
Okay.
an acronym, and I love acronyms. I use acronyms in all my training workshops,
Mm.
and they love it because they remember. We have a leadership model which we use today called SEA, and I always say life is like the sea,
Mm. True, true.
unpredictable,
Yes.
changing all the time, and managing change. And so the C stands for self-awareness, enthusiasm, and assertiveness. So we believe these are the only 3 things you need to become successful.
I'm coming to that in a minute. It said something called attitude
Yes,
consultancy. What
absolutely.
does that mean? You have to explain it to me. You can't get away with it,
No,
okay?
actually, that's how I like to joke. That's the way we get our business. Somebody asks me, what is attitude consulting?
Mm.
And then you explain it and they say, hey, this is what we need. And we end up doing work because everywhere you have the right people. I mean, people working with us here, they have the right skills. That's why they're
Yes.
here.
That's,
It's their attitude that determines where they go. If they have the right alignment with people,
mm.
they go up. If they have the wrong alignment, which we call ego, right? All
Yes.
of us have an ego,
Yes,
but if you
sure.
manage it well, it takes you up. If you manage it badly, it pulls you down. And you see so many talented people coming
It's
down
a
in
very
their life.
basic word, really, that seems to convey a lot,
Absolutely,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Right.
So,
What about this other thing I saw that was assertiveness?
yes.
Now, I mean, in this day and age, I don't know if you can get away with not being assertive.
Yes, but the fine line that I draw in assertiveness is between being aggressive, the fine line
What's
between
that fine
aggression
line,
and
Keshav?
assertiveness. So
What is it? What's the
so the
fine line?
difference is, if I say something to you that you feel I have crossed the line, then it's aggressive. But if I can put my point to you in such a way that you respect it and I respect it, right? So in a sense, assertiveness is respecting yourself and the other person equally. So I don't say or do anything to you that I wouldn't want done to me. If
Makes
somebody
sense.
shouted at me and I can take it, then I can shout, right? And no regrets. But if I find that I get hurt when people shout at me, and that's where you find a lot of people struggling. They love to use it as a weapon to control others, but they don't like it as a weapon.
Where they are controlled.
That's it.
Right.
So assertiveness is to know that when you are playing between the lines, and when you go beyond the line,
Now, in part of your training program, when you talk about things like this, are your students or your listeners or the participants at your workshops, are they a bit taken aback because it seems such a simple word? However, explained in the way you have just explained it, it makes a lot of sense.
some sense, yes. So what we do is we play games. All our workshops are about having fun because when you say see, self-awareness. So you
Mm.
say self-awareness is not running away from your life. It's about staying with your life, but knowing your strengths and your limitations, and working with your strengths and managing your limitations. So then they say, hey, I never thought of self awareness like that. Then I say, enthusiasm is about having the energy to do what you want,
Mm.
not more than you need. Right? I don't need to run every day to become energetic. I need to be able to get up and get a glass of water when I want it. So if you do what you want and you're able to do it well, that's energy. That's enthusiasm.
Do you find that people are willing to listen to you
Well, we are still here and we are still
after
doing
so long?
something. So yeah, so
After
we
so
are we
long.
are working with some of the best corporates. And to be fair, I can't name any because they're all equally good. There's small companies that are growing. There are big, huge organizations and corporates that love what we're doing. So, in a sense, we're just gratified. Of course, it can't be commoditized into a regular business because you can't produce clones who can talk this kind of stuff. So, there are youngsters who work with us. We have what, 10 or 12 of them now. Young girls who've done their MBA, young boys who finished their MBA in engineering, ready to work with us because they believe in what we're doing. But then it's game based. You have to have fun. You have to get them engaged throughout.
Right. Otherwise,
You
it
can't
won't
give
work
to,
in
yeah,
what
you
work.
can't preach.
Yeah. What about the communication skills? Because it's presentation and communication
Absolutely.
that is such a big thing these days. And you
Absolutely.
see this around the world.
Grooming.
And how much attention are we in India paying to this kind of thing?
Correct.
We've got a few young bucks here and there who will talk very big and who don't necessarily come across the way we want them to. So, how are you teaching them those
So,
skills?
so we're not really teaching. In fact, we like to tell people we're not teaching. We changed the word teaching to learning. So we are
Okay.
learning facilitators. We've even gone beyond that to say that we are only facilitating learning. So we're not even telling you to learn. If you want, you can learn, right? But we are only pointing to the possibilities. If
Hmm.
you groom yourself better, don't you see better possibilities? We want to believe that the youngest of the poorest of the poor in India are aspirational. They want to come up. You have single mothers struggling with their. I'm sure all the boys who work with us here, the girls who work with us, they're struggling. India is a struggling country, but everyone has that hope and faith.
Yes.
And that's why we're a
Ambition.
democracy because there's no pressure from the outside.
Right.
It's up to you to pull yourself up.
So, do the companies, when you approach them, is it easy to get business? Because at the end of the day, it is all about business. So, I was just wondering, how do you go about that, Keshav?
So
How?
this is a sad part. In India, we can't market this like doctors and lawyers. This is what we keep saying. When people ask me about my programs, I say we are like doctors and lawyers. You can't advertise that I'm a great doctor. You have never seen a doctor saying I'm the best,
No, not at
right?
all. No,
We
no.
hear that yes, this doctor there
Somebody,
is the
yes.
best, and someone says
He
when
or
I
she
need a
did my
doctor,
surgery,
that's
so
it.
therefore go to him or
And for
her.
a lawyer, you can't say I'm the best lawyer in town.
True.
Similarly, I think I can't say I'm the best teacher or the best facilitator in town. It goes by word of mouth and by pull, not by push. I can't push my business. I need to be pulled in by somebody who's experienced it. Somebody who's I'm sure you heard of
Yes.
something I'm doing, and then that's how you call me. Otherwise,
Right.
I wouldn't be called as a guest.
Right.
But if I live my role well, you're going to call me again. So my focus is in not how I'm going to push this. It's how well I do it every day that I stay relevant. That somebody else says, "Hey, that guy was good.
Yes, but
Call him
Keshav,
back."
you can't actually promote yourself in that respect.
In that
So,
sense.
this is only by word of mouth, isn't it?
So what happens is one performance leads to another.
I would
You do it
imagine.
well, right? And that's how actually, incidentally, that's how I got into this business. I
Tell
was
me.
actually a journalist, and I was writing for a side, and a side was started by a really radical thinker called Abraham Irali. You probably
Yeah.
knew him,
Mm.
and he was a professor of history in the Madras Christian
Yeah.
College. Then he started this magazine, almost like a college magazine. Then it grew into a city magazine, and we were really getting help. And we had a joke because we were a small magazine. So we had a joke. We wrote what we like. We had the freedom. So we liked that. Nobody read it, so they were happy. That was a joke in the office because
Yes.
it never went to many places. But it was one of the best experiences in my life working in a small team, bringing out what we liked and doing really sensible journalism. So when we had to move, when he sold it, and the next owners were not very interested in. So it was like they were doing us a favor, and they said, "We'll pay you the salaries. We haven't decided." So all of us just quit one day.
Really?
When he closed down, we said, "We're not sitting
We're
here."
not interested.
So I had to go to the Hindu or the Financial Express, and I was about to join one of them when a friend said, "Before you join, do a 3-day workshop for our sales team because you're so good at presentation and speaking and your drama. So why don't you do this?" So I did it. And it was such a hit that I got a call within 2 days from another company and a third company.
That was your
So I said,
starting.
"Hey, if I can do this,"
That was a
and
start.
luckily my wife stood by me and family support, so it was good. My father said, "This is your time. Go for it. We'll back you." It was good while it started. But then, I have a remarkable family. I should tell you, my mother-in-law was 50 when she started her business,
Wow.
right? And
Okay.
she literally took over a business that was my brother-in-law's. He was going to sell it. She said, don't sell it at a loss. I'll run it for a while. We'll pull it back and then sell it. She ran it so well for 35 years. And she
Amazing.
asked me if, if I minded if her daughter was working with her. When I was getting married, she said, "Do you mind?" I said, "No, no, no. I want her to work."
Mm,
So between them, they ran as lady entrepreneurs for 30 years.
amazing.
So finally, when she gave up, this is where my attitude consulting comes in. We felt that kept her going. At 86, when she sold it, she went down because she had nothing else to live for. And this is what we keep telling people, have a goal in life.
Yes.
She didn't have a goal after that. So we were trying hard to keep social service. She did a lot, but somehow that main drive that just dropped out. And slowly you found that she just couldn't get back to what she was. Like all
Right.
of us,
Yes.
once you lose a faculty, it's hard to get
Yes,
back
it's
onto on
it's
the
very
grind.
difficult indeed. Now, tell
So,
me from your experience, what do you think about this word called team spirit?
oh,
I find that I think that's one of the most important things,
absolutely,
isn't
and
it?
thanks for hitting the nail on the head. Uh, like in Hindi, they would say, "Aapke muँh mein ghee shakar." This is exactly what we
Bilkul.
need as a culture because
Yes.
we're shy people in India. All of us are so talented,
Yes.
but we are so shy and we're not very sure how to get along with other people, and we don't cooperate naturally. We suspect naturally, and then we have to overcome that barrier to start
This
cooperating
is
with
our
other people.
trait, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a typical trait. The Americans, on the other hand, are ready,
The other
so
extreme, I
ready,
think they are
yeah,
the other
so willing
extreme.
that you suspect that as well. Why
Yes.
is he so? Because as long as the money is there, they're ready to collaborate. So, and the Japanese are so shy, but they still get their work done. The
Yes.
Chinese are so pushing, and they want their work done, so they'll do anything for it. So we've been watching all these cultures. So we've been doing, cultural multicultural sensitivity programs. So we found in 2000, around 99, I took a team from one of the big top five, computer companies. I'm not naming them. So I took them for a workshop, and we ran 35 such workshops on team building, right?
Wow.
And from there on, we became specialists in team building. So Mantra over the years has been doing mainly team building, and today we call it collaboration workshops. So because team building itself sounds like, what are you going to teach us? So we say collaboration is an art. How do you collaborate with other people? How do you compete and collaborate at the same time?
Right. But tell me, the companies themselves, okay, the firms that you're dealing with, how accepting are they of somebody coming in and saying, maybe you could do this differently, perhaps this way, that way? How does that work? I mean, are they willing to listen?
So,
Next.
so I think this happens even in families, not only in companies, even in our homes. Every day, changes happen. People change a table from here to there, right? Nobody notices. The others just don't care. But somebody say, "Hey, that's a nice idea." So change has to happen all the time. Now, who's the agent? Could be an external one, could be an internal one. There could be an internal boss wanting to change others who reaches out to us, or after our program, they just want something to bring in some change, and somebody to come in and speak, and maybe that could trigger a change. So we never know what the reasons are, but what we have noticed is there is a need at all times for more alignment rather than agreement. Agreement is not possible.
Right.
You and I can't agree on everything. We can't be friends all
Surely.
our life.
Surely.
We will disagree, but we can align, and that's a fine art that I'm trying to reach out to other people and teach, not really teach, but reach out to people with this art of alignment where
Right.
agreement is not
What's the
possible.
kind of feedback you get?
So we talk about
I'm
win-win.
sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
but is it a tangible thing,
No,
feedback?
no. That's the point. So what we do is now we say, look, write down three things you will do for changing your behavior. So I have an ABCD model, another acronym. A is for
You like
attitude,
them.
yeah. B is for behavior.
Mm,
C is for character, and D is for destiny. So we're saying if your attitude is right, your behavior will definitely change
mm.
for the
For the better.
and obviously that becomes your character once you know you kind of live that behavior. It becomes character. And we believe 40 days of any behavior can become character. And that leads to a better destiny. So if you have the right attitude, you can change your destiny. That's the message, ABCD.
Right.
So, with that, how do we get feedback? We make them write down at least 3 changes that they would practice, right? But more than that, the best feedback we get is, hey, we still can't forget that workshop. You know, so 90, I told you
Nice
99,
feeling.
yeah, there are
Right.
people in 2005, 2009, people get back after 15 years. Are you still doing this? Please, I want you to come. I can never forget that workshop I attended. Now today they're still, either they're HR freshers who are now HR managers in companies, or guys who are working in the company and start up, new companies.
Mm,
They reach out to say we need the same thing for our company. So that's how we get business.
right. Keshav, it always worries me a little bit when I travel abroad that sometimes us Indians are viewed with a little skepticism. I mean, am I coming across right? But that is a feeling that I get. And I often wonder, how can we solve this? I mean, is it real? Am I thinking realistically?
Yeah, but to be fair, everyone across the world feels that way about themselves. So
Oh,
if you
really? Oh,
if
that's
you
good.
ask
Then
the
that's nice
South
feeling.
Americans, but they don't come here or they don't go all over the world. We go all over the world.
That's
We are the
true.
only diaspora that you will find on every continent in every country, because
Absolutely.
that's our nature. So we've always been traders. We've always been going out, and now we are trading our skills, not so much
Very much so.
commodities,
Very
but our
much.
skills. So when we go, obviously it takes, we feel it more because we are traveling and we have more mobility wise, we are there. But I think everyone feels it. So they don't even come out of their cultures. Japanese don't come out unless they get invited for business. Or even when they do, they're really worried about it. But I think when I work here, I find the Koreans feel the same way
Is
in
it?
Chennai. They feel terrible. And after lunch, they bring their own electric toothbrushes and brush, because they know that their food doesn't come across very easily with other people. I
Mm,
mean, I'm sure we feel the same way when we, use so much spice in our food.
yeah.
We know that. So I think across the world, I think all emotions are the same. Expressions are different. And that's what I call attitude, behavior,
Okay.
So
You've
that's
given me a different, a different
different view.
viewpoint, shall I say. Now, your mantra also deals with children.
Yeah.
So tell me
Mantra
about
Child.
that.
Mantra Child was something that I believe we started literally in schools and colleges.
So, how do you deal with the children and what do you
So,
teach them?
so what we are telling them is that we're telling them that we have the experience and you have the enthusiasm, right? Children have enthusiasm, the elders have experience. What if we connected, right, rather than fought each other? So we think, don't fight your parents because they know why they are saying what they are saying. So start understanding them rather than fighting them all the time.
Do
So
the
when they're
children
young.
listen?
So the question is how you talk to them and how do you relate. And I use the mirror concept of psychology. So when I'm talking to a person, I typically drop to their level if I can. Right.
Sure,
So when I met somebody from your team, I talked to him at his level. But he
naturally.
would have a feeling, oh, this guy is all suited and booted. He must be different. So what makes people comfortable? Try to pitch there, and if you pitch, you get there. But you can never be 100% effective with everyone. You have to believe that you are saying what you believe in, and it should be a win-win. So today we are talking win-win, how to have win-win relationships. So we're talking to youngsters about goal setting, right?
Mm.
Setting smart goals for life, aligning with people so that you get to your goals. If you need to get to your goals, align with people only for the goals, not outside, right? Because then negative influences come in.
Right,
Somebody
right,
wants to get you into drugs, he is going to try or she's going to try. You've got to be very careful that I can't let go of my goal, right?
right.
So we do work with very poor scholarship students from two very big foundations in India,
Okay.
right? And they give them scholarships, but they want life skills from Mantra. So we try to tell them that you've got to set a higher goal.
Right. Now, when you look forward,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Mantra has been going for many years now, but what's your game plan for the future?
I believe in what Daniel Goleman, the father of emotional intelligence, who wrote the book
Yeah.
on emotional intelligence, did a lot of work. He uses his spray and pray is the technique. Spray the idea and pray that it works, right?
Mm.
Because emotional skills you can't transfer to people easily. right?
Yes.
You can talk about it, hope that someone gets influence enough. So we don't believe that. I believe that if it's got a destiny of its own, mantra will go on, right? My daughter is also in psychology. She's a trained
Mm.
psychologist, a child psychologist, but she's a kuchipudi dancer professionally.
Right.
But she's running her sons. My grandson is a national karting champion now. He's only 12, so
Mm.
she's managing his career. My son-in-law is a builder and a former racing champion, so he's got his life. So we're trying to align, and the only golden word I've understood is alignment. So if you can't try to control the world, you have to learn to live with the world within control, right? Controlling limits.
Right.
So I don't think I worry too much about the destiny of what I've started. It'll
Okay.
go on.
Well, let me ask you for the last time now, communication skills. Have you been really successful with imparting communication skills like, well, like you and I are doing today?
It's amazing that you believe that you have to create that need in the person to change,
Hmm.
to become, articulate, to become
Confident.
composed, confident,
Confident.
composed.
Mm.
But I don't believe that you can actually force somebody to change and become more confident. They have to feel it themselves. So you keep telling them that, there is a value for that. But I refuse to get diffident about it, or some people are downright pessimistic about the falling standards. I believe that they will show it in other ways. So language is one skill, but they would have other skills that you can't see, right?
Right.
Some of them are good drivers, so you can ask them to, in an emergency, if you're to drive an ambulance, language won't help, right? So
True.
if they're using it in the right place, it's about how you use your skills. So I'm seeing everything as potential in people to exploit what they have, and they should use their skills better. But language is a little, right now, iffy. Everyone believes that you can get away with anything. The so-called wokeism, Gen
Yes.
Z language, you just have to enjoy it with a sense of, I think you share that with me, a sense of wonder with what is happening around you.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. There's much that we too have to
That's
learn,
it.
I
That's
think.
it. That's
I
it.
mean, I really think if that's the
It's
way
a
you view
win-win.
everything.
Yes, you learn new
And
things
of
every
course,
day.
it's been my pleasure to have you here today, Keshav, because I think I've learned a lot too.
I do. I
gotta,
do
gotta have you
hope that
back.
you have, but I certainly have learned a lot, because you've always been a very good, encouraging person. And I think what you're doing in this program is very inspiring, because it should help other people. There's no point talking about what's wrong with the world.
That's
It's
true.
important to talk about what's right with the world and hope that more and more people see the right things.
Yes, I think that you, like me, believe in being positive about everything.
Absolutely.
Keshav, thank you so much.
Pleasure, pleasure,
I'm so
Jennifer.
just so
Keep it
happy that
going.
you
Thank
could
you
come
so
in
much.
today. Thank you very much indeed. Well, I'm really happy that you could join us here on Going Beyond. It's been my distinct pleasure to have Keshav join us today. And I hope that you will still keep watching us on Going Beyond every Sunday night. Don't forget. Bye for now.